And welcome to another episode of the Wikid Creator Interviews. Today we have with us Honors the Second. He's an awesome guy. He's got a lot of really cool projects. So Matt and I are really excited to talk with him today and kind of figure out what he's got going on. So obviously my name is Michael. I'm one of the Wikid co-founders, and I'm joined by my fellow co-founder.
How's it going? I'm Matt.
And welcome, Honors the Second. How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you guys? Good to get to talk with you guys. Can't wait to talk some comics. It'd be dope.
Right? Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we're doing good, and it's excited to have you here. I was just talking about it on the podcast earlier today. We were going to be having you on tonight, so
Nice.
I'm very excited. So I always like to start with a little bit of an introduction, so if people who maybe aren't familiar with you or your work can kind of get to know you. So maybe just tell us who you are and a little bit about your projects.
Yeah, man. So I'm an individual from Plant City, Florida. It's a really small city in Florida. If you're driving past and sneeze, you'll definitely miss it. It's literally that small. But the stuff that interests me, of course, is feudal Japan, and that's what type of book that I'm working on with Blood Ties. I like a lot of historic, realistic things, so that's why most of my work that I'm putting out deals with stuff that's actual ties to history, and I kind of try to find the little niches in it so I can make my story as believable and as realistic as possible. So that's why I always try to go back to the historical times. But yeah, I mean, I've been reading comics since I was a kid. Of course, Spider-Man is my favorite character of anything. So he kind of course, reading his books kind of pushed me to do some stories like this. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome, man. Well, it's definitely good to have you here, and I'm excited, as I said, to talk more about your comics. So you've got several comics, one of which is Blood Ties. And for it's this awesome shinobi story, and obviously I want to get into where your love of kind of ninjas and stuff came from, but we'll hold on for that for now. But can you just give us a basic premise of what is the story about?
Yeah, so I mean, it's I don't want to say it's a basic story about revenge, because I mean that's the primary basis of the story, but it's essentially about a young African shinobi who was brought over from Africa almost through the slave trade, and he was trained by shinobi, and he has a power in him that his father, which was an African scientist, has developed, and this serum helps heal the sick. It gives you extraordinary abilities, whether that's speed, intelligence, quickness, the ability to process information quicker than most individuals. So it's a mixture of things, and depending on who takes it, they get different side effects from that serum. And the thing that makes Kiyoshi so special is that he encompasses everything that you can get from the serum, making him pretty much, I don't want to say, but a super ninja. So at least a more physically inclined ninja, and of course he's starting to develop his power and starting to understand how to actually use it. And of course, Oda Nobunaga is one of the most preliminary figures in feudal Japan. He's one of the most dominant figures as well, and almost everybody who knows a little thing about the samurai era or the Sengoku period know about Oda Nobunaga. He's in all video games, things to that nature. So I've seen this this niche to bring Kiyoshi into this world, because as we are familiar with, Oda Nobunaga grabbed Yasuke from Africa, so I kind of figured I can use that a little bit, and that's pretty much the premise of the story. Kiyoshi, which is the main character, believes that Oda Nobunaga killed his family, and he wants to figure out why this guy wiped his family from his life, and he's on this path to do that. And in order to do so, he has to embrace the ways of the shinobi, because the samurai, he doesn't feel like he'll be able to get the job done being one of them. So he embraces the ways of shinobi. Of course, they teach him their ways, and they want to obviously take down the samurai, so they use that, and it goes hand in hand, so everything connects.
That's awesome, man. Dude, it's really interesting. It does sound like you have almost some manga influences, almost maybe. Would you say?
Oh yeah, of course.
Very nice.
And yeah, manga is like super super important over there, so that's something I look at, and I try to want to incorporate that into the story as well.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, it's a really interesting story. Yeah, I love how you've combined different kind of cultures and ideas into a really interesting story that, as I said, really kind of does have has the strong manga feel to it, which I think is pretty awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's sorry, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to ask a question about the serum real quick. It because the main character has a lot of these abilities. Would you say he's more of like a patient zero for it, possibly, or just
I would say,
um,
so
more
Yasuke,
like gifted with it?
yeah, I would say Yasuke would be maybe patient zero because if we know about the history, Yasuke was like this big, strong individual. And my thinking is, okay, so a guy who comes to Japan and learn the ways of the samurai, like it's no ordinary guy can do that in the amount of time that history has him doing it. So I'm like, what if he had this leg up? What if he had this serum inside him? And then if we talk about Oda Nobunaga, like this guy has reigned for years and years. He is intelligent. His battle strategies, his resilience. And I was like, okay, what if Oda heard about this serum in Africa, which made him go grab or have Yasuke come to him? He can grab these individuals who's making the serum, and then he wants to instill it into his samurai army. And I just felt like that kind of makes it so maybe Kiyoshi would be, patient number 2 or 3 or whatever the case may be. But Oda, of course, being the brilliant man he is, and embracing war strategies is what he's doing.
Okay, that sounds pretty dope, honestly. I like that. Um, so you would that actually answers another question I was going to ask. For what period of Japan it would take place, but that seems to take place in the Sengoku era. So I mean, that's a pretty good time to actually like do some stories with it as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a good period, man.
Right. And that's where I feel like a lot of most of the stuff happened. I mean, of course, we have a lot of interesting shoguns out there that we can learn history from. And but I feel like Oda's was one of the most, I guess, interesting for me because of how much he did on the battle at Mount Hiei and things of that nature. It's like this guy, although he was a maniac in a sense, the guy was brilliant. He was a brilliant general, a brilliant shogun, just a brilliant leader. Would also mean he had a demise, but the guy was smart.
Which means it's not gonna be an easy thing for our main character here to get his revenge, which is something that he's seeking. He's seeking revenge against Oda Nobunaga for some past transgression, right? Is that right?
Right, of course.
And so, what can we expect to see over the first 3 issues?
So the first 3 issues is kind of I call it I guess the startup, the introduction arc, and this is just pretty much introducing all of the characters and the story plot moving forward in this past. So with this 4th book, it's definitely going to wrap up that introduction arc. I think if you guys want to get into the story, anybody that's listening wants to get into the story moving forward, I feel like this is the time to do so, especially with the first 3 books. It sets up a nice little plot point, and then the 4th is pretty much going to be the bow on everything that's just according to the information or the introduction. So you should be set to go once you read those 3.
Now, I was just curious on a kind of a side thing. Do you have any art that we might be able to share with the viewers today?
The art,
kind of show off anything you'd like to share?
as far as artwork, I do have some artwork that my artist has been, well, not my artist, I don't know him, but that the artist for Blood Ties has been that's been posting. His name is Skizomi. I can figure out, see if I can link something in.
Yeah, if you send me any images or links, I can definitely screen share that on here.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I can do so, and so we can get those out so you guys can see them.
Awesome.
And speaking of artists, Skizomi has been he's been working his fingers to the bone for this one. So I'm really excited for the artwork that's going to be in this chapter. Like, it has me smiling now. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear
it. Dude, that's awesome. So how did you kind of first come to start working with your artist?
Oh man, so after the first book, and that's why people people see a little change from the a big change actually from art between the first issue and the second throughout. After the first issue, the artist and I, we kind of, you know, parted ways. It was mutual, it was good stuff. And then I was looking for an artist. I'm like, man, I was in the airport and I was like, yo, I need to figure out an artist to keep this thing moving. So literally I just went on Twitter and I was like, manga artists. I just searched hashtags or whatever the case may be, and I was just looking at people's artwork. And then I ran into Schizomies and I was like, yo, this guy or this person, he has like the best type of art as far as a manga style. And I was like, I need to reach out to him. Hopefully he'll work with me because he has some really, really dope stuff. I like the styles. I like the colors. I like the paintings he was doing. I like this art style. So I DM'd and I was like, hey, you still working on some stuff? Like, can you squeeze me in for anything? Like, I want you to, you know, do this feudal Japanese comic. And he was like, cool, like, just let me know. So that's kind of how I got in contact with him.
Very nice. Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys really work well together, D.
Yeah, man. The artist is crazy. Like, he has some really, really good stuff. And I think his art is really, really dope. So definitely, I always hit him up just to check on him to see how he's doing. It's never really art. I always try not to talk art, because it's like, yeah, I know they got a lot to do, and I want to feel like I'm rushing them. So I always check on him, see how he's doing, with the artists that I work with, and just pretty much just carry on the conversation. It's never about art, because I know that they have so much stuff that they're doing, and I don't definitely want to add to the stress and the pressure that they might be dealing with. So it's always just good relationship, especially hitting them up every now and then, get them some space to breathe, that type of stuff.
That's pretty cool, man. Actually, I really like hearing that, like that you really work with your artists like that, because you're really treating them as a person, not just as an employee or you know, a contract worker. You know,
exactly, most definitely. And I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but a guy that I'm working with, another artist, of course I call him CT, Cole Anthony. Cole Anderson, he's a really, really GOAT guy. He has so much knowledge and he's younger than me, but that's like, I go to him for, you know, information as far as like how to improve on this, how to improve on that. And with him, I always hit him up, ask him his opinion on movies and what, like, how's life going, because, you know, I'm really genuinely, you know, interested in other stuff rather than just, hey, can you do this book for me? I always try to create a relationship because it's bigger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. And definitely, I think that shows through in the work too, because, you know, if they really enjoy, you know, talking with you and enjoy you as a person, they're going to want to do your project more and put more passion into it. So it kind of works both ways, really.
Yeah, honestly. I hope I'm not annoying to him, because I always hit him up and like, hey, man, what do you think about this movie? Hey, bro, how do you think about this? So hopefully, hopefully he doesn't feel like I'm just annoying him.
That's great, man. Well, I actually have some art here I would like to share first. It's kind of some covers from some upcoming issues, and it kind of illustrates something that I wanted to talk a little bit about, which is that your character is he's a ninja, a shinobi, you might say, and he wears a mask. And so what I find interesting is the kind of dichotomy of when he's not wearing the mask versus when he is wearing the mask. Right. And I kind of thought maybe if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so of course I wanted to try to keep this story, and I'm glad you got that up. That looks really cool. I wanted to try to keep this story as realistic as possible to ninjas, but I always wanted to add like some supernatural thing to it. So the mask represents the wolf culture. It's an Akami mask, which means wolf in Japanese. And when they put on that mask, different characters in their clan has different masks. However, they all glow red once they put it on, and once they take it off, it stops glowing red. And I feel like this was to add to the effect of like the demon ninja type thing, where people, they have all these crazy stories about how ninja are. So really, in reality, when we're looking at the mask, we see it as it's red, right? But in reality, when they're wearing the mask, they're not. It doesn't change color. It's just your fear. It's just whatever symbolizes in those eyes, that when they see red, it's like, oh my goodness, it's a demon ninja, because we have all these misconceptions of ninjas, right? So I wanted to kind of feed into that with that mask.
Well, that's really interesting. So are we going to see characters who also have masks then? Other characters?
Of course. So in this, actually in chapter 4, you will see the entire Okami ninja clan, and they will have, each and every one of them will have masks. That's how you will separate the Okami ninja clan from the Iga ninja clan, and as well as the Koga ninja clan so the kami, they're all gonna have these wolf type masks with these red demon glowing eyes. So that's kind of my way of setting them aside, difference between the Iga and the Koga ninja. So you will see the entirety of the Okami ninja clan with their masks, and they're gonna have different designs, different shapes, different things to that nature, but they will all have that red eye. So when enemies see them, it's like, oh no, it's the demon ninja clan or the Okami clan. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's really cool. I can't wait to see some more of the masks kind of taken, throughout the series as you kind of do those.
Almost.
But yeah, that's awesome, man. And so that kind of leads me to my next question which is kind of, where did you develop your love for ninjas? Because it definitely, I can tell you're passionate for it, man.
Yeah. So I would say it was years ago. It was, I think. Not, it was way before the Naruto thing and all before that stuff. I was always fascinated with this like figure that's dressed in all black with the with the ninja hoodie pulled over him. Just this mysterious creature or this mysterious individual using katanas or different types of weapons. So I was like, man, like I started researching. I started buying like novels and just reading and doing my research and weeding out, pop culture's version of ninja with the actual feudal Japanese written history of ninja. And I love them both. I like pop culture's take on it. I like how their pop culture feels like they're these assassins that wear black and things like that. But I also like the feudal Japanese actual history, whereas they were farmers, they were poor, they had to make whatever they could in order to survive this shogun era, this samurai era, when they were slaughtering their people just because they wanted to take over land. So the ninja really had to adapt and embrace whatever they could. And I think the thing that interests me the most about ninja more than all is whatever they had was a weapon. They didn't always have katanas or kurosagamas or ninja stars or anything like that. They might have a rake that they might have to use. They might have something that they have to use as far as a weapon. So the creativity and the aspect of what they had to do, they made pretty much wine from pea really, just to make, not literally, but they really had to make whatever they could just to survive. So that's what really, really interests me in them.
That's amazing, dude. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I really like hearing that too. And sounds like, as you said, you're really big on the history aspect of it. So are we going to see a kind of a really authentic, obviously there's elements of supernatural layered in, but the underlying kind of historical element, is that in the Blood Ties story?
Yeah, so the events, so what I'm doing is putting actual events that happen in history and I'm putting them into the story. For instance, in book 2, you will see something called the Battle at Mount Hiei. So everything I try to make it as historically accurate as possible while adding some of that supernatural pop culture type, nonfiction stuff in there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to keep it as linear as possible. But the thing is, also, I wanted to stress this too. The events are going to happen, on a linear path. Like I am taking events that maybe happened in Oda's later life or earlier life, and I'm kind of like mixing them and intertwining them. So people can understand like what type of guy he was. So
almost like a remake.
Right. So it might not be on the same linear line as his history, but it will have some of the events that made him who he was in this book.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love doing historical fiction. So I love that you're playing with that in your comic here. That's really fun, man. And it's great to hear that you're still carrying your love for ninjas into this book series.
Most definitely.
So are we gonna see some samurais?
Yes, of course. So
nice.
You would definitely start seeing samurai. You've seen a little bit in book 1, but not as historically accurate as the samurais, what they depicted. So you will start seeing some, of course, in chapters 5, chapter 6. There is a group that I'm kind of creating. Again, I had to add that supernet or that I guess some new type stuff in there. There's a group called the Elite 5, and they are Oda Nobunaga's I guess super enhanced samurai. So he gave them the serum as well. He had Kiyoshi's father mass produce it and gave them the serum. So Kiyoshi's going to be going up against eventually this elite 5 samurai, and pretty much I guess the inspiration from that came from Spider-Man Sinister Six. Like I love
Oh, nice.
Spider-Man has to fight. You know what I mean? He has to figure out how he's going to fight 6 of his toughest adversaries in a creative yet cunning and elegant way. And that's what I wanted to show with Kiyoshi. Like he has to fight against the 5 serum-driven samurai who are pretty much just like you. How is he going to find a way to beat them? So that's kind of the the niche that I'm putting in there.
And I think it kind of brings up an interesting point, which is that you are not just a manga fan, but you are also a fan of a lot of Western comics.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself bringing that kind of stuff into your writing as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I know, of course, being a huge fan of the Japanese culture, I love everything that they do, and I like seeing some of the stuff that they do. But also, I can't forget where I started from, which is the American comics. And I have like tons and tons and tons of comic books in my room. And before I, really did Blood Ties, or before I even wanted to get into comics, like I think in July, before I put out the first book last July, I just dumped all my comics out, and I was going through stories like, why do I like this story? What is the connection to this story? Like, what do I like about these stories so much? And it kept coming back to, well, one of the things that I like is this, I guess, this anti-hero, someone who isn't afraid to cross the line to get to do what is necessary. And how is he going to go about it? You know what I mean? And I like that type of stuff. Don't get me wrong. Like, of course, Spider-Man and Batman, you hear the stories like they shouldn't kill or whatever. But I do like characters stepping across that line and crossing that line necessary. And that's kind of like where I came back to. And that's where Blood Ties kind of derived from.
Right. And obviously, with the story the way it is, he kind of has one of the best. His story is it's not something like what am I trying to say? He has a definite reason to go after it. It's not something he's taking lightly. He's not just going after him for any reason. It is for a very personal reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is what you find. Do you find that out in issue 1?
You find out what his goal is in issue 3. So issue 3 is the backstory to Kiyoshi. It's his childhood. It's how he came to be, and pretty much what motivates him now. I think that for Kiyoshi, if I kind of had to, I guess, put something in words, I feel like for him, it's like that's his MO, right? He's set on this path of revenge, and he's not going to give it up so easily just because he wants, because it's the right thing or whatever the case may be. So he has a legitimate reason to go after this figure. I mean, who doesn't in this era, right? We have shoguns battling shoguns for territory, and especially Oda Nobunaga's whole goal is to unionize or unite Japan all together. But then you have this character who, of course, Kiyoshi wants to kill this guy. So it's like, who's right and who's wrong? Even though Oda did some crazy stuff, at the end of the day, he was trying to do what was best for his people. But then again, the ninja were trying to do what was best for their people. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. They're at that pass. They're at that brick wall.
Interesting, man.
Yeah. Would you say that this kind of ties into the themes and the messages you're trying to bring out with, or bring across with Blood Ties?
Yeah, I think so. Here's the thing. I want to say this, and I hope nobody, of course, I don't think they will take this the wrong way, but I wanted to see, like, in the time of feudal Japanese, I wanted to see what will make them accept a foreigner, right? Especially an African foreigner. And as we know, they probably wouldn't have, right? I mean, even Yasuke was so, but because Oda was the one who was like, I don't care if Yasuke's a foreigner and he's dark as the moon or whatever he called it. Like, I want this guy to be one of my bodyguards because look at how big he is, look how strong he is. If I could teach him to be a samurai, like, I will be safe. And that's why I kind of wanted to bring Kiyoshi in this era, because it makes sense. He got Kiyoshi through the strings of Yasuke. So in this era, I was like, okay, the message that I'm really trying to send is, if the ninja wanted to do everything to keep their people alive, how far would they go? I mean, I think that if you had this super powered, I guess, individual, wouldn't you want to bring him into the fold, regardless of if he's different than you or whatever, just to reach your common goal, as selfish as it is? So I think that with this, it's like, how will Kiyoshi be treated, right? Because of course he's a foreigner, he's African. So I mean, when he's over there, you will see that come into play in book 4. Even his own clan doesn't really accept him. They call him certain names. They try to distance themselves from them. But I mean, he's so gifted, he's so talented at what he does, and then the master or the master of the clan sees that he needs that, he's willing to forget whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, you can't deny the skills you can see there.
Exactly. So yeah,
that's dope, man. And is it safe to say, like, would he be considered a gaijin in that sense?
So yeah, so it's different. So a little bit disclosure. I know this is gonna sound real, but I actually do train in ninjutsu, right? There's something called Bujinkan, and that is that is the only recognized ninjutsu training facility or training camp from Japan.
Oh, wow.
And they have multiple I would say dojos throughout the United States. I don't think it's that many, but my city actually has one. And what he would be, I guess, what in the Bujinkan rankings, the we would say the Ahsoka is the main clan leader. And it's different ranks, and it's not really like, I would say like the Naruto things, like the Genin and the Chunin and stuff like that. I mean, we do have ranks in the Bujinkan, but it's a lot different than what it is in the anime.
That's pretty awesome, man. You really are going all out, man. You are a true hardcore fan.
Yeah, man. It's almost a healthy obsession.
That's funny, man. But it's pretty cool that you have that in your area, though.
Yeah,
that's especially with there being so few, man. That's awesome. But I have another interesting kind of question that was running around in my head, which is I know you've talked a little about kind of the historical setting that it takes place in Japan, but obviously your character is African born. Do you have plans to bring in African culture and possibly mythology or legends into it?
So my whole plan, so I was looking at doing that at first, right? I was like, okay, it wouldn't make sense to bring this kid from Africa and not having the African ties. However, after talking with Donovan, who helps write and he helps edits on the book, and we were talking and we were discussing, it was like it wouldn't make sense to add African I guess culture right now, because if you think about it, Kiyoshi was taken from Africa when he was a baby. All he knows is Japanese culture. So so in his mind, even though he sees that he's different from them as far as his skin complexion, his hair his hair texture,
his identity.
Exactly. All he knows is he's Japanese, really, because he hasn't been raised. Exactly. He hasn't been raised in the African culture. So he's just this Japanese African kid. But eventually I feel like once we get past the entirety of the conflict, I think that he will start to try to seek out things of his culture, which is why he, in this book, I don't want to give it too much away, he hates Yasuke because he feels like Yasuke is a traitor. Because after hearing the story that Yasuke used to protect his dad, now he's working for Oda, he's a traitor. So it's almost like that, I hate you, even though you pretty much are the only person that I guess that we share a connection with, because we're both from Africa. How can you do this? So we'll have a lot of that type of stuff in there.
No, that's awesome, man. That's I can really see, like you said, that he might, he feels like he's Japanese, but he maybe at some point he'll seek that that kind of other stuff out and see. He'll be curious to find more. So I could totally see that, Now I'm curious about you mentioned you work with a guy named Donovan, you said?
Yeah.
So what kind of role does he serve in your creative team, and how did you first meet him?
Yeah, so Donovan or D Nell is what I like to call him. He started off it's a weird. So I used to do YouTube embarrassingly. I used to do a lot of
Mhm.
videos on YouTube, and I gained this sponsorship through a company called Gamer Gloves. And when I gained that sponsorship, he was running the Twitter at the time, and this was like in preliminary talks of me doing a comic. Like I kind of put a little bit of stuff out there, tweeting like, "Hey, I want to do a comic, but I'm not really confident in my skills as a writer, or whatever the case may be." And he, I think I seen him say that he had a degree in English or something or whatever. So I hit him up and I'm like, "Hey, man, like I want to start writing. Like, do you mind like checking this little piece out? Just to see how it is or whatever, and just tell me how you feel." Because I knew he was an English writer. I wanted tips. And he got back to me on some stuff and was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Like, I think you can do this, whatever the case may be." So when I started Blood Times, I was like, "Yo, like, I want you to be a part of it." So what I usually do is like I'll write the scripts or whatever, and I'll send him the scripts, and of course with his knowledge, he'll be like, "Look, man, like, you might want to do this or whatever." So I was like, "Yo, why don't you just be a helpful writer on here?" So he definitely comes up with some ideas. He has a lot of good ideas that we've implemented into the book as well. He's a solid guy. So usually like I'll write the scripts, I'll shoot it to him, and then he'll write whatever he feels like extended or whatever, and he'll send it back to me, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is pretty dope." And he's like, "Yo, just take what you need, leave it, whatever." So then I'll send it back to him, and we'll kind of shoot scripts back and forth, like, "Okay, how do you like it?" And if he feels like it's pretty dope, then usually that solidifies it. But as far as like the scripts, I usually write scripts like in advance. Like I think I have up until Blood Ties like chapter 10 already written out, and before I send it to Schizomi to get it illustrated, I shoot it to him and say, "Hey, how do you feel about the script? Do you feel like is it on par? Is it everything cool with it?" He'll be like, "Yeah," and then I'll just send it to Schizomi. So that's pretty much how it works.
And I think I can already tell he has a lot of really great stuff to your team, man. Because like
Mhm.
even just the few things you mentioned, like that he noted for you, like
Mhm.
having him be, his culture and stuff really be cemented in Japan. Sounds like he's a valuable team member. So it's cool to
Most,
see that, man.
most
Hmm.
definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I mean,
Real quick, is there any like things we can expect for chapter 4? Like a little bit of hints you're willing to give away?
Oh yeah, most definitely. So chapter 4 was set up, and I know that chapters 1 through 3 has already been setting up the future plot, but chapter 4 is I would say almost the end all be all to the introduction. All right, chapter 4, you would definitely see the infamous god ninja named Hattori Hanzo, who was once a samurai turned ninja. He's one of the most famous ninja that you'll know. And Hattori Hanzo actually has a connection with the sensei for Kiyashi, and he's the leader of the Egon Ninja clan, and they get into it. It's a heavy dialogue book, so you guys will see a lot of dialogue, but you will see a lot of good fighting scenes. Like when I tell you Schizomi has been working on the fighting scenes for this book, it's going to be crazy. Like it looks so good. So you will have some heavy hitting dialogue. You will have a lot of great fight scenes. And you will get to see an introduction to a couple of more characters that's going to take place later on in the book. So I'm excited to get it out. Really.
dude, yeah, that's awesome, man. I can't wait to see some of the fight scenes because
Hmm.
I definitely know you guys do a lot of really cool stuff with the fight scenes, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to talk a little bit before we move on to the next project, if that's okay. I wanted to
Yeah.
actually talk about your artist a little bit and kind of how you guys came about deciding. Did you guys have any like discussions about the art style and how you wanted the influences and kind of how you wanted it to come across?
Yeah, so originally Blood Ties, like I wanted to do, and that's why you'll see a difference from Art Style One. Originally, I wanted to do like a realistic looking ninja samurai story. So I wanted it to look as realistic as possible and not necessarily manga, anime style. So after the first book, I went back and I processed it, and I was like, okay, like this is cool. I think it's cool and all, but like I want to hold people's attention, and as we know, anime and manga right now is dominating the market. Like you can't really go on your Twitter without seeing some type of somebody talking about anime in some form of capacity or manga, whatever the case may be. So I was like, okay, what if I kind of like switch up the style and see if I can get somebody that could do it this way? And that's where I found Schizomi, and I was like, okay, I think like his work will be perfect for the book that I'm working on, right? And moving forward, I want to kind of go with that manga style. And eventually, and then sometimes like now I kind of think back and I was like, man, I kind of love the way a realistic ninja type comic will look, as realistic as possible. But I think I'm okay with how it is with the manga style, and Skiz is killing it with the manga style. So it's like, why there's just no need to change. And I feel like everything's, as far as with Blood Ties is going to be moving forward, is going to stay in this little this manga looking style, this manga looking art.
Right. No, it was an interesting shift because, like you said, the first issue is kind of a little bit different there because of the different art style. It's still, I still feel like it does have some manga aesthetics with it, but it was fun to see you kind of go full force into that style and really embrace it, man.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. And like this shot here is, I love this shot. Can you, what's going on here in the bottom panel?
Yeah. So, okay. So it's going to take a little bit to explain, maybe like a minute or so. So if you see the eyes and you see the, I guess, the infrared that's outlining the characters, one of Kiyoshi's abilities is to sense the body signatures of individuals, even if they're hidden. If you're training in the Bujinkan, I know it sounds scary, but one of the tests in order to become, I guess, like a top ninja, you would have to take something called a Godon test. And what would happen is your sensei will only give feels like you're ready. And what he does is he holds a real sword over your head while you're sitting down with your eyes closed. You can't look at him, and you have to sense the blade coming down before it hits you.
Oh man,
it's real stuff. Like you can go
intense,
on, yeah, you can look it up. And what it is the sensei has to have in his heart the intent to kill, and the student is supposed to sense that. And once the blade comes down, the student is supposed to roll out the way. Well, in Kiyoshi's sense, mastered this ability, this Godon senses. Almost, you can almost call them spider senses. Technically, it almost is the same thing, but these Godon senses increase with his serum given ability. He can actually close his eyes and still see as if his eyes are open in the dark. So it almost serves as like an infrared vision, and that's why you see that if you look at the top portion, you just see Hattori Hanzo by himself with his hands up, and then if you look on the bottom portion, you see all the ninja in his clan that's hidden in the trees, and Kiyoshi can see them as clear as day.
Damn, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love it. So it's like you said, it's a little bit of spider sense. It's almost a little bit of Assassin's vision. If you ever played Assassin's Creed, it's a little bit mixed of a couple of different things, but I totally love it, man.
Yep.
It's gonna lead to some more of those fun like battles scenes and just a lot of cool stuff that they can do with the abilities and the world building there.
Oh, most definitely. It's gonna make for some really, really dope fight scenes. So definitely keep out with
that. And that's what the series really kind of seems like it's inducive to, is just really good, not just good story building, good characters, but just really good fights.
Right.
Good manga has a good fight, man. You know what I mean? So it's like yeah, I'm super excited for it. But I was thinking, if you'd like, we can shift over, focus to some of your other projects.
Oh, most definitely. Let's do it.
I know you got a lot going on and stuff, and so I was thinking maybe if you wanted to talk about Holger.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you tell us about what that's all about?
Yeah, so before I can really talk about Holger the comic,
okay.
No, we can do that. I'm just saying I had to pretty much the guy that we was talking about a little bit earlier, I call him CT. If you guys look on my Twitter, I try to retweet everything of his. I'm gonna be completely honest, right? And I'm not saying this, I don't know if he's listening, I'm not just saying this to make him feel good or whatever, but he, to me, and I'm not trying to knock any other artist, but he, to me, is the best artist I've literally ever seen. And this is just me, this is my opinion. So when I seen him, I remember a couple of months back, before Holger was even an idea, I seen him on Twitter and I seen his art and I was like, yo, this art style is crazy. So I DM'd him and I was like, man, like, your art is dope. Like, do you have any more works? And he was working on a project called Reigns. So he was like, I got this comic coming out. You know, it was done by him. He did it. He illustrated it. He wrote the story. He did the letter. Or I think he had someone else do the lettering or whatever. But he was like, hey, this is my project. Check it out. So I read the project and I fell in love with it. The art style, his storytelling, like I can tell he's been doing this for some time. And I was like, listen, man, like I just wanted to be a sponge and I just wanted to learn from him. Like at first I wanted to get him on some stuff on my project, but I was like, right now, like I just want to learn from you, like just teach me. So every chance I got, I just asked him questions like, yo, like, you know, how can I get better as a writer? Like, how can I, you know, see this way? Like, why is the comic industry like this? What do I need to do to navigate? So I'm just literally picking his brain. And then I started thinking of this comic book which is Holger the Last Viking. And I was like, listen, I'm not going to do this comic unless I get him on this artwork. Like, I'm not doing this comic because when I was thinking about it, I seen his art style. So pretty much Holger is a comic about the descendants of Viking voyages, and it takes place a little bit after the Viking history. And the descendants of the voyages, you know, as we know, the Viking culture kind of like faded away, and not a lot of people started to uphold it. They started getting into, you know, more religious things, Catholicism and stuff like that, or whatever the case would be. And of course, some Vikings were Catholics or they were religious, but no one really started to uphold that Viking culture. So what the descendants of these Viking voyages did, whoever wanted to be in this culture, they migrated to a land which is called Frida. And it's 4 different factions within this land. Each faction has their own section of the land. So we have North African descendants of Viking culture. So we have North African Vikings. We have Iceland and Greenland Vikings. We have Mediterranean Vikings, and then of course we have the traditional Vikings that started the entirety of the Viking voyages. The ones, you know, from Denmark, Sweden, all that type of stuff. So we have 4 different factions of 4 different types of cultures, but they're all Vikings living in harmony now. Holger right now is I would say he's the king of the Vikings, and what each faction does is they vote for a Viking king to start it out with. Have this event called Ragnarok, right? And Ragnarok it's like maybe every 5 to 10 years, if a Viking king wants to step down, each faction has to put up their new young guns and they fight it out for the death in order to get the faction to be the king again, and then that person is the king. So it's a story about you know, loss, tragedy. It's a lot of stuff that I'm pulling all the stops out. I feel like I'm a better writer because I have CT encouraging me and teaching me. So I feel like this is one of the books that I'm really devoting like just everything to writing and making sure that it's top-notch stuff.
Yeah, dude. And speaking of top notch, man, it looks good. Like you said, I've been a long fan of his work for a long time. In fact, you know, myself. And so yeah, when I saw that you were working with him on the project, I couldn't have been more stoked, man.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And like you said, it's almost like he was meant for this project. I mean, looking at this scene here, we can see here. The whole setup is so epic, you know.
Yeah, and the thing is with CT, like CT does not, and the thing that I love about him for me as well, and it's just learning, he doesn't sugarcoat it. So like if he feels like, you know, if I'm lacking in a certain area, he'll let me know, like, hey, like, you know, maybe look at this, watch this type of movie to understand like how the writing is. And he doesn't just look at it as just like, you know, oh, this is just the product. Like he fine tunes it and he fine picks it. So like with this story specifically, Holger, like I was like, yo, I need it to be good. So I needed like everything as far as his artwork, his intelligence, his brilliance, I guess the same thing as intelligence, everything that encompasses this project. Like I only seen like, okay, I only want CT to do this. Like if CT wasn't able to do this, if I wasn't able to get him to do this, then it wouldn't be happening. Like I trust.
Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking of which, so I mean, how did you guys come to work together? Did you approach him about the project originally?
Yeah, I definitely approached him and I was like, I remember in my head, I wanted him actually before I was thinking about having him on the Holger thing. Like I wanted to do another form of I guess a ninja comic or a samurai comic. So I wanted to have a ninja comic and a samurai comic. And then, I remember I wrote this script and I sent it to him, and he hit me back. He was like, yo, like, it's dope, but like, it's kind of similar to this, don't you think? And I was like, damn it, yo, CT, like, yeah, like
he's got the good advice, man. He really does.
Yeah, I was like, damn it, like, you all right. So then I was like, okay, but I got this Viking comic in my head. So like what I did was, like, usually how I, come up with my stories, I would just, if I had this idea in my head, I'll just go to a Word document and just type from beginning to end of how the comic is going to be, however many pages it is. And then, I sent it to him. I was like, so what do you think about this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just, do you think it's dope? And he was like, I think it's a lot of good stuff here. Like, expound on it. So then that's when I was like, yo, I really, really, really want you to illustrate the comic. And that's how we kind of came about it.
Dude, that's really awesome. Now, we have another main character here, and actually, I don't know. Is this? I'm going to show a screen share here. Is this the main character? Because I actually don't know the main character of the story.
Yes. So
What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, so that character specifically, his name is Ninjal, is Njal. And he is the son of Holger. As you will see, we definitely don't want to give away a little bit, he is the son of Holger's, and he is a brilliant kid. Holger was known back in the day, and Holger stands for, the one with the spear, who uses the spear. And Holger was known back in the day as being one of the most vicious and I guess elegant, crazy fighting style type warrior, smart as heck too. And Holger feels like his son is maybe better than what he was. So as you see in this film, or this, actually not this film, but this specific screenshot, they're training. And Holger is fighting his son, and they're training to
Nice.
Get ready to be pretty much to be a warrior.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, dude, that's really cool, man. It's interesting that you kind of incorporated this training scene here into it. And so, is it safe to say that Holger's son and Holger are both pretty prominent within the comic? Pretty important characters.
Yeah, they're definitely the focal point of it. Holger, when I was creating Holger, I guess not, believe it or not, but when I was creating Holger, in my head, I was like, old man Kratos. I know we played God of War, right? I was thinking of, like, because Kratos was a awesome, as far as like the way his mannerism was with his son, like this straightforward, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, like, I really love Kratos, but I also kind of don't want to make Holger different. And Holger, at this point of his life, I would say earlier Holger, he was like how Kratos is now in the recent God of War game that we played. But now this form of Holger, he loves his son like so much, and everything he does is for his son. However, he's also like in later of his years, he wants to party, he wants to drink like crazy amounts, he wants to have fun now. So pretty much Holger is getting Ninjal ready to take over for him. He wants to step down. He wants Ninjal to be the one that leads his faction, so Holger can, like, rest now and just pass on his legacy through his son. So that's why in this scene, as you see, Ninjal is knocked down to the ground because Holger doesn't take it easy when he trains. But when he's outside of the training area, he's jokey. He makes a lot of cool jokes. He drinks a lot. He's just
pretty carefree.
Right, but when he's training his son, like, he's like, no, we mean business. Like, it's time.
Oh wow. Yeah. Kind of changes his mannerisms like completely real quick.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We talked earlier about how you're a huge fan of Japanese culture and ninjas and all that stuff. What was it like kind of shifting from doing something that took place in this kind of thing, this kind of culture that you're maybe a little more familiar with, to something like the Viking thing where maybe you might not have as much familiarity with it?
Yeah, man, it was hard, to be honest. Because, it really was, because when I was first thinking about this comic, it was either going to be like a comic about knights or a comic about Vikings. I knew nothing of both. The only thing I knew about Vikings is that, I guess, the pop culture, they were raiders and traders, even though they were like these sweaty big buff dudes that just broke into houses or broke into land. And the only thing I knew about the knights is that they rode horses and always took a knee for some reason. So I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about them, but I wanted to do a comic on either or because I always want to explore history. So I remember I sent out a tweet with a poll, and I was like, hey, everybody, help me out. Should I do a next project? Should it be about Vikings or should it be about of knights? And people voted Vikings more. So and that's at the same time when I was talking to CT. So I was like, CT, like, you know, I want to do this comic, but I kind of don't know, you know, where to begin. I've been doing some research. I don't really know their culture. And this is how, and when I tell you that CT is probably the most brilliant dude, like the next day or the next morning I woke up, he was like, hey, check this video out, check this article out, check this out, look at this is how they work, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh, yo, so I dove into everything that he sent me. I watched videos, I looked at articles, and like after that day, I felt like I was like knowledgeable as heck in Vikings. And then I hit him up, I was like, yo, I got it now. So, and that's kind of where this idea came from too. It's where it derived from. So it was kind of hard to learn the information because I didn't really have any information on Vikings, but I feel like now I have a little bit more, and of course still growing.
No, man, that's awesome. That's really awesome to hear. I love how you incorporated that.
Yeah. Would you say that for Hoger, would it be more of an action comic or more of you could say a period piece? Like, what can we expect from the first issue of it?
I think I want to say I think Hoger will be an actual comic. I guess the first idea that I had for Hoger when we got everything situated, I wanted it to be a limited, like maybe three issue, but more than like 40 pages worth of story in each issue.
Oh, wow.
But I kind of wanted it to like span it out. And I felt like it was just better to just span it out and make it like that comic form. And when I tell you like Hoger, and I love Blood Ties. Blood Ties is my baby. Like that's my baby. Well, Hoger the Last Viking is definitely something that I'm really, really proud of, and I'm really hoping it pans out, and I hope it works out because I'm putting a lot as far as like a lot of time, a lot of effort as far as knowledge into it. So I just hope that, you know, it pans out. And of course, I mean, if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm glad to have, I guess, again, CT on this book regardless. So yeah, I think it'll be a traditional comic for you. It'll be your standard first issue, introducing some of the characters, introducing a little bit of the plot point. But I think it'll still be enjoyable. It wouldn't be as slow as a first issue usually is.
And as you can already see people in the chat are saying stuff about like your projects, they say, and stuff like, sounds cool as fuck here. We've got looks amazing. I can't wait to read this. And why is this too good? So clearly we got some people. So yeah, man, people are obviously connecting with what you got going on, man. You got with your story, your characters, your artwork, and I think that's really awesome to see, man. And so, you know, just, you know, I actually kind of had a question though. When I heard you talk about what kind of little something about this, do you have plans to possibly bring this to crowdfunding?
Actually, I do. I was thinking about it. I was honestly thinking about how I was going to go about it. And I think if for Hoger, it's the term that I'm using for it right now is slow grind. It's really a slow grind because with this book, I want to make sure I'm really taking my time and checking and figuring out what to really do with it. Of course, with the recent incident that transpired as far as the pandemic, it's like I didn't want to just, you know, throw it up there and say, hey, everybody, buy my comic, because I know a lot of people are going through some stuff and I didn't want to be insensitive. Right. But then it was fair. Like, yeah, but it was like, what if I do a crowdfunding and, you know, kind of affordable? But then it was like, but should I do a crowdfunding right now in this time? Right. And then it was
it's tricky. It's tricky.
For the fall and do it, but it's like I don't want the hype to die down from it because it seems like it's getting some good buzz. So it's
dude.
it's just like, I don't know. I'm confused right
You just
now.
got to plan it out right. So it sounds like you got to make sure you're doing it the right way in a
Right.
sense. Yeah.
Right.
And I get that, man. I get that. It's uncertain times, so you got to make sure we're doing it the right way. When I did that's doing it now or pushing it back, think that would
Right.
be, think that's a good idea for you to think about that.
Right.
But like you said, I know there's a lot of buzz for it. So whenever you do decide to do that, I think actually you would have a lot of support for crowdfunding. I
And
do
I
think people
appreciate
would.
all the support I can get.
Well, that's awesome, man. And again, going back to some of the art here, I'm having another screenshot to share.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, sorry, that's the same one I shared. But let me pull up a different one here. But see, you said it's kind of a more of a traditional comic. So does that mean you plan to kind of go more than the original 3 issues?
Yeah. So I want to, honestly, I guess I wanted to do like maybe around 10 issues. I wanted to put that many out there and try to do something to that nature with that many issues. But again, I don't know. I know as of right now, I've already written script 2 or issue 2 of the book. Is already completed, and it's I know it's far longer than Holger's script 1 was. I think Holger's script 1 was about maybe 10 to 12 pages of script, and then this one is like maybe 15 to 20 pages of script. So just kind of trying to compact as much in each issue as possible, but not making it too clustered so they can understand. So I want to try to get around to at least 8 to 10 issues with this thing if everything goes well.
You said sorry, repeat that again, the numbers there.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
How many issues did you say there? Sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to at least try to make it between 8 to 10 issues.
8 to 10 issues. Nice, man. That's a good amount, actually. I like that, man. That's a decent amount.
Sounds like a standard arc. That's pretty good.
Right.
Would you say that working with CT overall has helped out with your writing for the other projects that you're working on as well?
Hell yes. I wish I could say a more explicit of hell yes. He like CT is brilliant as heck, man. So and like the thing is and when I communicate with him, like I said, the same thing with Skiz, like I try not to just make it about like the Project Holger. Like I'm actually interested, like I really consider CT a friend. Like I hit him up and just ask him like how everything's going and how's your work coming and just stuff like that, just to connect with him. And he will also, I remember when we first really started talking, he sent me a YouTube classroom of writing. I think the guy's name was Brandon Sanders, and it's like 5 classes, 6 classes, 8 classes long, of 50 something to maybe almost 2 hours worth of class time, just watching and learning. So just watching those videos, understanding how to make dialogue seem natural. I think that's one of the biggest things I'm learning right now, is trying to make it seem very, very natural. Again, I'm a less than a year writer, so I think working with him has increased my skills, as my writing skills, dramatically.
That's awesome, man. It sounds like you're really passionate about all your projects, not just Blood Test, but really all the stuff that you've got going on.
Well, yeah.
Did you have any like themes or messages that you're trying to bring across with this new series?
Yeah, so actually with this series, originally I wanted to show like how far just anybody, period, how far would you go to sacrifice or to protect everything that you love, right? It's kind of that standard trope, like I guess the trailers in the movie, like how far will one man go to blah blah blah, but it's not really just about man. It could be man or woman or whatever you consider yourself. Like how far would you go to protect everything that you care for, right? Does that include, would you harm like your own people in order to protect what you stand for, or you know what I mean? So I think with this comic, you guys will like the stuff that we have lined up and planned up and what we want to do and how we want to execute it. I really feel like this comic is going to make for some really good story and plot points and some really, really good emotional tie-ins as well.
That's awesome. So people can expect kind of some really dramatic stories going forward, I'd imagine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cool stuff to look forward to. And speaking of which, as we kind of start to wrap up here at the end of our time, what can people expect to kind of look forward to with the future of the Holger the Last Viking?
Yeah, I think with originally I wanted to create like this. I know it's gonna sound like it's simple, but I wanted to create this Marvel Cinematic Universe type stuff and have like, I wanted to. We're not gonna do it now, but I wanted to have Holger connect with Blood Ties in some way, and then eventually I wanted to. I really still want to do a comic about knights, and I wanted to triangulate and connect all of them. But since that probably won't be historically accurate, with Holger, I definitely want to make more books, and that's why we have the Holger the Last Viking. And once this series is wrapped up, hopefully I can do another series, Holger something else. You know what I mean? So,
cool.
So that's what it kind of sets up. That's why I kind of have the Holger set up with the and the Last Viking that way, just in case if we wanted to do another arc or another series, it'll still be Holger, but it'll be a different tone.
And with that amount of issues, you could really easily put it into a nice trade paperback at the end of it. Collect it into a trade paperback and have them as little graphic novels almost.
Right.
So that's awesome, man. Well, I know you have another project as well. I was curious. I know you have a horror project, isn't that right?
Yeah, actually.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, I can. So it's not even. It's still a Word document on here. I've been sending out the scripts to see if just to see what some writers and stuff think about it. But the comic right now is called The Therapist, and this is one of the comics that I hope to put out one day. I'm not sure if I will soon, but this is one that I really, really want to get out. And it's pretty much about a client going to see a therapist. And of course, as you guys know, I'm in the helping profession as far as like with that exact field. And one of the things that I want to kind of look at is people's actual fear of like counseling. Like, what is your real true fear of going to counseling? Is it because you don't want to seem like you're broken, or you don't know what's going to happen to you? And I'm playing on that in this comic. It's like the worst possible thing you think is going to happen to you happens to this individual, right? So we'll see. Right? So we'll actually on that. So that's what
that's a good one, dude.
Yeah.
That's a really good one because I love. I'm a big horror fan, and I just I love when you get a really good premise, and that is a really good one, man. So you're gonna definitely play on those kind of fears, then I take it.
Yeah. So and I think it's, as far as like dialogue wise, I think I did really well with this one. There's still a little bit of stuff that I still have to do, and of course talk with CT and others and see how they feel. And I've already gotten a little bit of how they feel. So I just wanted to. I really wanted to dive in my sick, twisted bag, even as a mental health person, just to dive in there and see like, yo, this normally would be a taboo in my field, but we'll see. Well, I guess that's what makes the best stories.
So you would say this one would be more of a, out of all your stories, more of the mature rated.
Yeah, well, I will be honest. Holger is probably the most mature rated. Is going to be the most mature rated book where you're going to see some stuff. They were talking about the age of Viking, so you're going to see some stuff. But as far as this comic, I think I really wanted to, because my favorite genre of movies is horror, but more specifically psychological horror, and that's what I wanted to do with this book: psychological horror. Playing on your fears, playing on your insecurities, playing on your worries, whatever, and have them manifest into this main character. So this is different than what I did before, what I'm doing before, which is all 2 action books. So I kind of wanted to shift genres and see if I can do something else.
Dude, that's great, man. I can't wait to see more about that. Yeah, and
definitely, because I'm more of a psychological horror fan myself.
Yeah.
All right, man. There's a lot of good ones coming out these days, so it's nice to see you kind of diving into that genre. But do you have an artist yet? Have you kind of chosen an artist for this project yet?
It's simple. It sounds easy. I think I honestly I want CT to do this project. When I tell you like I feel like he's like really the best artist. I really want him to do this project.
Nice.
I don't know. He has a lot of good stuff going on. I definitely don't want to take more of his time, and I love him on Holger. I don't want to compromise another Holger book for this, but I really, 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 really could see him doing this book, especially with his art style, you know, the tones and just everything. Like in my head, I'm like, yo, this will be such a gritty, nice psychological horror book if he can like get his hands on it and do his thing. But again, I mean, that's just what I was thinking. Of course, we don't know, but I'm happy to have CT on Holger for right now. So I'm not really thinking about, you know, the therapist too much yet until Holger comes out and chapter 4 of Blood Ties comes out.
Well, man. Well, you're always coming up with new projects, you know. So, but yeah, it'll be cool to see, and I wish you luck on getting CT for that project as well.
Yeah, man. Me too.
That's funny, man. Well, I do want to ask one more. This one's actually just for fun.
Mhm.
What would you do if you got to go to Japan on a trip to Japan?
Oh man, I would the first thing I'd do is find a ramen shop and eat.
Nice.
But really honestly, I think that I would I know it sounds so cliche and so boring. I would really try to find some type of historical museums on the samurai and on the ninja, just because I really like to learn more stuff. And I would try to go find that and see if I can like communicate and talk with some people who are knowledgeable that of their own history, that they can teach me something that books or websites or videos can't. So that's pretty much what I do: eat ramen and definitely go find some historical museum or something.
No, that would be a good thing, man. That would be awesome. And I'm with Japan being as I'm sure that you could find a good number of historical places to check out there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, man. Well, hopefully, hey, maybe we'll see your comic over there one day, man. It's
Oh man, I hope so.
right?
We hope we see it with the Wikid publishing logo on it. You know what I'm saying? You know, we keep that on the blood ties and we just keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude. Exactly, dude. Get it out there to more audience, man. We got to start doing what we can do, man.
Right, I'm putting you guys on the spot. Don't let me go. Y'all can't let me go. Like I just got here. I still feel
That's funny, man. Well, we appreciate you jumping in here. I wanted to throw it to the chat just one last time to see if anyone has any final questions here today. We have Cthulhu MD says a suggestion: when he does go to Japan, use a site that tells him how to go through one rail system to another. It ain't that sounds like sounds like good advice, man. I've heard that they have a pretty expensive what you call subway line, I guess you could call it, subway system.
Yeah.
As a lot of big cities do. So yeah. But it would definitely be good research, that's for sure. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate you jumping on with us today to talk a little bit about your comics and kind of what you got going on. Do you have any dates yet? Do you have any possible? I know you said you got a lot going around with kind of thinking about the crowdfunding campaign, but do you have any maybe tentative dates yet? Months and stuff like that?
I would definitely say, as far as Blood Ties release, I hopefully, I hope I'm crossing my. I think in the next month. As far as Holger, I want to do a crowdfunding campaign, maybe like this summer when everything clears up and everything starts to look hopefully a little bit better. We can do some crowdfunding there. So I definitely consult and see, you know, with you guys, of course, with CT, and see if we have a market for this thing or whatever the case may be. So we'll figure it out.
So yeah, definitely. One way or another, these comics are getting out there, and the Blood Ties, as you said earlier, we said the issue 4 is coming soon. Issues 1 to 3 are coming soon from Wikid Publishing. We're gonna get those in print as well, and we want to get the whole thing out to you guys and start getting people to be able to check out these books and stuff. And is there a way people can preview any of the stuff that you guys got out right now?
Yeah, as far as Blood Ties, if they want, of course, they can find me on Twitter. I think pretty much the people that's tuned in or whoever's watching it can find me on Twitter through you guys as well. So they can always DM me. We can try to send them some stuff so they can look at it and be ready for when it hits Wikid.
Dude, that's awesome, man. And is there anything you want to say to your fans out there, or to people who are kind of looking forward to some of your books?
Man, honestly, really not really. I don't know if I mean, I hope that'd be cool if they were fans, but I definitely want to say, definitely I'm glad to be with you guys, Wikid Publishing. Definitely giving me the first shot with Blood Ties. You guys saw something in it, and I'm happy that you did. And I feel like it definitely will get bigger. So I appreciate it.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely.
Mhm.
Anytime, man. We're happy to have you. And when we first saw your project, we really fell in love with it, and hearing you talk about it, and it just made it more so. So,
Yeah,
we're
we're
really
glad to
stoked.
have you.
Yeah, exactly, man. We're really stoked. And we appreciate you jumping on here with us. I'm gonna plug your. I would like I'm gonna put out some links for you, but why don't you tell everyone where they can follow you online so they can check out more of your stuff.
Yeah, man. So the conventional, as you guys know, my love for ninjas goes further. So my @ name on Twitter is Black Ninja Bam.
Nice.
It yeah, so that's the only form of social media that I have. So on Twitter, you guys can find me there, and definitely DM me. DMs are open. Ask me about anything, ask me about works or anything to that nature. And we'll see if we can definitely get you something so you get caught up for before.
Very nice, man. Well, again, I'm really excited about all these stuff you got going on, not just the Blood Ties, but Holger as well, and your horror project. And I can't wait to see more from that. And man, you got so many awesome projects. So it's just so cool to see you be able to get those out there. And obviously, again, I'll say it again, man. The fans are connecting with you. They love your stuff already, man. So you're doing something right here. That's how you know you're doing something right. So. Well, thank you again, guys, and it's been a great. Thanks for everyone who participated in the chat tonight and who chatted with us and asked great questions. And if you guys want to just check out his Twitter, you can find more about his comics, Blood Ties, and Holger there, as well as his horror project and all the other good stuff he's got going on, and also just be able to interact with him and stuff like that. So definitely check his stuff out. And thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, man, and thank you. And everyone have a great night, and we will see you guys next time. Everyone have a great night. Take care.
Have a great one.